This is the morning brief from the Economic Times.
My question is, what is Dogecoin?
I'm glad you asked. It's a good question.
Well, it's the future of currency. It's an unstoppable financial vehicle that's going to take over the world.
I get that, but what is it, man?
I keep telling you, it's a cryptocurrency you can trade for conventional money.
Oh, so it's a hustle.
Yeah, it's a hustle.
Why didn't you say that, man? Don't bother everybody. It's a hustle.
To the moon!
A hustle? What? Come on, I don't agree one bit with Tesla's boss Elon Musk. But believe me, many people actually did. And even now, almost a week after that appearance on Saturday Night Live, Dogecoin is trading down. It was honestly very different though, just hours before the show went live. Traders wanted to place bets, build new positions on India's largest crypto exchange, WazirX, in anticipation of a price tear because Musk is a huge crypto geek who was even willing to accept bitcoins or Doge for telling Tesla were in for a rude shock. Much to their horror, they just could not transfer funds. Nobody could figure what was going on, so several took to social media to vent their frustration. It turned out, just like ICICI Bank a few days prior, even Paytm's Paytm Bank were refusing to accept any payments linked to crypto trades. The tension between banks and the crypto community, and trust me, this is a massive and fast-growing community in the world and even in India, has been brewing for a while. But this took the form of a knockout punch. It's Friday, not the 13th, and you're listening to the Morning Brief. I'm Arijit Barman from the Economic Times. But why are banks suddenly playing spoilsport when even the Supreme Court is fine with it? The finance minister also seems to say, let's regulate and not ban. Then, what's the big deal? To help me mine all these questions, I've invited the man who's making the headlines, Nischal Shetty, founder and CEO WazirX, India's largest crypto exchange. Joining Nischal, two of my colleagues who have been closely following this space and writing extensively about it, Sugata Ghosh and Apoorva Mittal. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. Nischal, I want to start by asking you, with banks increasingly resisting payments for crypto trades, how certain are you about the future of the crypto industry in India?
Yeah, Rijit, first, thanks a lot for inviting me on this podcast. I'm glad to be here. Like you said, there was this, a lot of people were looking forward to the weekend for Elon Musk to appear on SNL, and which he did. And but unfortunately, neither us or any other exchanges were able to process the deposits because at the last moment we saw that one of the bank pulled off, the other bank had some trouble servicing the industry during that brief moment, about 2 days, I think 2 or 3 days. And even now the situations are better than weekend, but it's still not solved, where we're still trying to figure out which would be the banks that would want to service the industry in the right way and not have to be worried, will there be banking tomorrow or not? Because right now the industry is in that situation where it's thinking, will we have banking tomorrow? And what about day after? Correct. So yeah, I think that's the situation as on today.
You don't sound confident. And this coming from the largest crypto exchange.
My worry is the inconvenience it can cause to our customers, the end users in India. And we have over 3 million people who are on our platform. And India has about 15 million people. That's 1.5 crore Indians who are into crypto.
Wow.
So it is going to affect all of them.
So how big is this investor pool? I mean, roughly,
about 1.5 crore. And I'm being very conservative. I'm sure it is far higher, but I think 1.5 crore Indians in India own about 15,000 plus crore worth of crypto assets.
Hold on. What did you say? 15,000 crore?
Yes.
Wow.
That's the wealth that has been created in our country thanks to this technology.
So let me get this straight. 1.5 crore Indians hold 15,000 crore worth of crypto holdings. Just Indians.
Yes.
Wow. This is huge and growing.
Absolutely.
Correct?
So it took us 3 years to get to 2 million people. But just in last month, we got 1 million people signed up.
Wow.
That's the kind of growth that we're experiencing right now.
In 1 month, 1 million new additions.
Yes, 1.1 million actually in April 2021 for WazirX. And as a sector, I think it's growing in the similar pace. I think if there is any worry for me, it is always going to be that these people are the ones who will be directly affected, even if that's for a brief moment, maybe a week or month, I don't know. But that is something that's definitely a worry for me.
Because what happened this weekend is perhaps a stark reminder that this is a problem that's been brewing between, the blockchain entrepreneurs, the cryptocurrency sector, and banks in India for a while. It's not that, it happened for the first time on Saturday.
Yeah, it's been an ongoing thing, on and off, I would say. But since the Supreme Court judgment came, we've not had this kind of trouble because the judgment was very clear that banks are supposed to work with the industry. They can do that.
But Sugata, what are you picking up? What led to this sudden provocation? Why are banks suddenly doing this?
Okay, so why now?
Exactly.
Now I can think of two reasons. One silly and one subtle. Now the silly or the more, it can sound a little trivial, but I can't ignore it.
Okay.
The decision of one of the crypto players to advertise and sponsor IPL may have drawn the attention, and it could have stoked a simmering controversy.
भाई साहब बिटकॉइन में ट्रेड करने के लिए कम से कम कितने पैसे चाहिए?
सिर्फ 100 रुपए में स्टार्ट कर सकते हो. And takes only 5 minutes.
And the second reason is that the RBI is completing the inspection of financial year 20 of many banks. They have completed the inspection. And my sense is that in their inspection reports, they are making very state comments that there have been crypto transactions. Now, banks have to respond to inspection observations. And banks don't want such observations in their inspection reports. Now, remember one thing. For banks, RBI's wish is the law.
True.
So even if RBI doesn't say anything, they interpret. And this strange silence of RBI is being interpreted by banks in different ways. Remember, for RBI, when it comes to RBI, not replying is also a reply.
That's interesting.
If I may just come in there.
Yes, please.
So on the face of it, of course, it looks like it's been a sudden provocation. But, as we've already reported, major banks were still not working with the exchanges after the Supreme Court ruling. And the Dogecoin mania, the increased heightened trading volume and the activity and IPL did make the regulators do a double take because it reflects that the exchanges are making big money. But sources also tell me that actually it's not all that sudden. If we look back, RBI has been skeptical of the industry and issuing circulars for like close to 10 years now. And most of us were expecting the cryptocurrency and regulation, the bill to be tabled in the February session, and it got pushed because of various reasons. And then in March, when the finance minister signaled at a calibrated approach, sources say that, it kind of reflected that the government is adopting a more pro-regulatory stance instead of an outright ban, and which led to the
That's how it should be in any case. I think everybody wants regulation, not banning.
Exactly. So which is actually causing the recent restrictions.
Yes, and Sugata says, he started by saying silly and a subtle factor. If I can draw parallels here, even the gaming companies, especially fantasy leagues, the moment they became more mainstream, started advertising in popular sports channels and networks and IPL, they faced a lot of flack. They became a legal fight. So maybe, IPL, if the moment you advertise an IPL, something somewhere, some trigger goes off, and there is a blowback that often happens. But still, just want to understand this, for the uninitiated like me. Can you explain the banks, if they start stopping the trades, why is it a body blow? Why can't you and I, or Sugata or Apoorva or anyone, use, say, our credit cards or use UPI to make a transaction? After all, NPCI has not blocked fund movements for cryptocurrency trades. So even if half a dozen banks, they can be big banks like ICICI, Axis, Citi, Standard Chartered, or even some would say PSU organizations like, say, a Bank of Baroda, stop these trades or restrict. Why is it such a big deal?
But the problem is these are always based on top of some of the banks. Ultimately, your UPI provider would be one of the banks. And if that bank is not allowing, then what they do is they don't allow on any of the platforms, be it credit cards, be it UPI, NEFT, IMPS. They don't allow at all. Despite that, you will always find some banks which will want to service. The problem with the smaller banks is if they don't have the technology, it will be difficult for us to process this in an automated fashion. One of the reasons why I started WazirX was back in 2017. Again, there were similar issues, but it was less with banks, more with the exchange space being very new in the country. So by the time I bought Bitcoin, the price had almost 30% or 40% gone up when I bought in the exchange that existed. And I was so frustrated, which ended up me building WazirX so that we can solve this issue.
And Sugata, exactly. Isn't the silence of RBI just baffling? You have a Supreme Court who's taken a very different view. You have a finance minister who's talking of a middle path, but the RBI is not saying anything.
Now, look, in our country, innovation, we don't have a culture of innovation, number one. Number two, failures are rarely forgiven. And for many banks, Supreme Court may be supreme, but RBI is God. So look at the sequence of events. In 2018, RBI bans it. In 2020 March, Supreme Court sets aside the ban. Ideally, RBI should have come out with a follow-up circular allowing crypto trades.
True.
But RBI does not come out with a circular. Now, so there is a regulatory void. And this void is being interpreted by banks, different banks, in different ways. Now, banks, particularly MNC banks or the large banks, they're very scared of RBI strictures. Because if there is a problem later, they don't want to be pulled up.
Exactly.
Now, we don't even have a regulation. Nischal and other members of the crypto community, they're asking for regulation. But remember one thing, regulation is a far cry when we don't have the basic definitions in place.
Exactly.
We don't know whether crypto is a currency or an asset. Whether a crypto transaction is a capital account transaction or a current account transaction. Should crypto be a part of the Securities Contract Regulation Act? This is a field which is least understood by the government, by the regulator. So this crypto trading, the stakes in crypto trade are going up, where people are investing large volumes of money, and we have no rules, no regulations, not even the basic definitions. So this is a dangerous territory, if you ask me.
This is exactly like, say, e-commerce or payments or fintech. We just evolve as we go along. We don't, since these are new technologies, new set of entrepreneurs.
Even the whole cab industry, for example, and
even the ride hailing, exactly. Even ride hailing.
Yeah, but crypto touches a more fundamental issue, because crypto can either be a currency or an asset. Now, traditionally, currencies are issued by the sovereign, the government, or the central bank, and backed by the sovereign.
Exactly.
And assets have certain things underlying. So in crypto, it is very different. It's decentralized. And there is nothing underlying the asset. Because if you are buying a mutual fund unit, the value of the unit rests on the underlying stocks. If you are buying a commodity futures, it rests on the underlying stocks, the stocks of the commodities lying in the warehouses. But in case of crypto, what is the underlying asset? And if it is a currency, can a private player issue a currency? Isn't that a fantastic thing? I mean, can it last?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
these questions have to be addressed, acknowledged, and understood by the regulator and the government before we tread this path.
Apoorva, I want to get you in here. You talk to one very important stakeholder in this whole chain of events, which is, the payment aggregators, other fintech players, who play a very key role in facilitating these transactions. What are they telling you? I'm sure you've been in touch with them, and especially what's been happening, in the backdrop of what's been happening in the last few days.
Yeah, so the sense that I have gotten in most of the conversations is that payment aggregators actually want to work with the crypto exchanges, and they are in fact pro-regulations. Few of the largest ones in India were actually the first to work with the industry years ago, because all said and done, as some of you alluded to it earlier, it is a lucrative business, and they feel like they're missing out on a big opportunity by losing this. However, payment gateways are being blocked by the banks in various ways. For instance, there's a merchant ID that's issued by banks to work with the business, and banks are not issuing that to the gateways to work with crypto exchanges. And among the reasons that's causing the worry is, of course, the heightened trading activity and the possibility of money laundering. So banks have actually asked payment gateways to inquire about the settlement process with the crypto exchanges.
But, one thing that gives me some hope, Nischal, is the fact that banks might be pushing back, but you have technology gurus like, say, Nandan Nilekani, a very influential voice, or even iSpirit, again, a very influential group, picking up the fight on behalf of blockchain entrepreneurs. I remember, I think last month, Nandan tweeted and was very active on social media. So it's not all lost, really. I mean, one set may resist, but another set of technology entrepreneurs are clearly backing and entrepreneurs like you. So it's clearly game on.
We are seeing this globally. And Elon Musk is talking about crypto for a reason. He's again a guy who has a background in technology, and he's been deep into it. And the better thing is, in India, if you see, while we do hear reports of all these negative aspects or direction for crypto, our finance minister has specifically told that India wants to participate.
We are very clear that we are not shutting all options off. We will allow a certain amount of a window for people to use, so that experiments in the blockchain, the Bitcoin, or whatever you may want to call it, the cryptocurrency experiments and fintech, which depend on such experiments, will have that window available for them. We are not going to shut it off all.
And I think that's the biggest stamp of
sign,
approval.
yes, of course.
Yeah. And I think that, in fact, as an industry, we're very excited. And for the first time this happened this year. Until last year, we've never heard anything from our government officially.
Sugata, but you talk to a lot of crypto investors or who now want to join the party. Now, in this policy void, what would be the predicament of this community?
Now, there may be a lurking anxiety among some investors whether they can exit and sell their cryptos at the right time and right price, if more and more banks clamp down on payments linked to cryptos. Now, all investors are not tech savvy. They may not figure out a way to sell their cryptos to an overseas buyer. First, the price would be lower because Indian crypto prices are always at a premium to global prices. Then there would be conversion charges. And as you receive the money, the foreign exchange charges and the bank charges, and finally you may end up losing. Also, there is no clarity whether these cross-border deals are entirely legal.
Exactly. But I want to understand, you can officially, through official channels, remit money to a certain amount, $250,000 I think, every year, overseas. So, Nischal, can I then therefore send the money overseas and do the trade offshore, even if there is some issues or there is a regulatory backlash here?
Not that easy, because while you can send crypto anywhere, to cash out, you need fiat. And it doesn't matter what country you sell, you'll need to have a bank account in that country. to be able to
Right.
convert the crypto to fiat, and eventually also then find the right way to bring it to India. It's a very complicated process, and it's not for the regular people in the country to go that route.
No, because I was wondering that now I can understand people are restricted. There's not much international travel happening, but this is a digital asset, if I can call it, and therefore I can literally carry it around in my pen drive, trade overseas. These are, geographical borders are just artificial barriers, correct? So,
Yeah.
In a free world, if I'm well heeled, yes, I have to be upwardly mobile or globally mobile, and I can do these transactions all over the world.
Even the laws are very different. For instance, you're talking of using the LRS, the liberalized remittance route, to
Yes,
$50,000 to buy cryptos abroad. Now, the thing is that the LRS circular, the directive of RBI directive, makes no mention of cryptos. When the LRS circular was first drafted 20 years ago, there was no cryptos. Now, down the years, the circular has never been updated. And since RBI wants to maintain a silence and preserve this air of vagueness, it says nothing whether it is allowed or disallowed.
Yes, but Sugata, here, isn't there a dichotomy? On one hand, central banks, including RBI, I've been reading, have been talking of centralized digital currency. So in a way, they're acknowledging the underlying blockchain technology. But at the same time, there's as you're saying, a reluctance to accept or allow crypto trade.
The blockchain technology is different. Blockchain technology, the benefits of it have to be exploited. That is another thing. But on crypto, we have major concerns from the financial stability angle. We have shared it with the government. Government will consider and take a call.
You just listen to the RBI Governor, Shaktikanta Das.
The centralized cryptocurrency is a misnomer because the essence of cryptocurrency is decentralized in nature. Same time, China has banned crypto trades within the country or by the Chinese.
Interesting. Apoorva, you wrote a very interesting story this week, which clearly states that the investor pool in India is increasing. So it's no longer just a millennial thing. It's people at the age group of 30 or 40, even 40 plus, they are getting hooked onto this. So what's really happening? What's prompting this age group?
Yeah, if you look at the boom in the industry, both in terms of sign-ups and the trading volume, in recent months, it feels like there's no regulatory uncertainty whatsoever. And like rightly pointed out, when we think of crypto and we see the kind of people who talk about it, it has a very millennial vibe. And the numbers reflect that. Like the majority of the traders in India are actually under 35. The idea sparked from a conversation I had with one of the executives at crypto exchanges last month, who said that there's a growing interest in citizens over 65 who are investing in crypto, and their trading activity matches those of young investors. So several things about that caught my attention, and I reached out to get data. And as it turns out, for instance, on WazirX, the user signups over 45 have shot up by 337%. In the last 2 months, and on ZPay in the last 1 year, it's been over 700%. And funnily, my father too was asking me about it a few weeks ago. So, of course, the increased attention in mainstream media, broadcast media, IPL ads, and acceptance of institutions as well as companies like PayPal and MasterCard is contributing to it. But at the end of the day, parents and grandparents and the 45 plus age group is turning to kids to learn and talk about crypto. I actually spoke to a lot of young kids who are under 20 and who get most of the information from Twitter, Discord, and other social channels. And they've been convincing their parents to get into it. And most of them were actually hesitant initially because of the regulatory uncertainty. But then these kids are, actually showing them the returns they've made. If you look at age group over 45, they've invested in things like real estate, stock markets, those kind of things make sense. So what happens at the end of the day that the children end up being their parents' portfolio managers.
So Sugata, how would this stack up vis-a-vis other asset classes? Tiny or, it's the growth That's staggering.
No, so compared to other asset classes, it's still very small, but the growth has been very sharp. In fact, it has been the fastest when you compare it with other asset classes.
Right.
So that brings us to the two important things: is that whether the traditional sellers of these other assets, whether they are conspiring against crypto. Because no wealth manager would like your savings to go to crypto when he's sitting to sell insurance or mutual funds or stocks. Now, it's a conspiracy theory, but I'm just asking.
It's an interesting question.
So that's particularly why the government should come out with regulations, whether you should have a separate regulator or whether RBI does it. The government should come out with a bill. The government should at least clear the air what it thinks about crypto, because you can't let an asset class grow every day and still don't have the rules of the game.
Absolutely.
So that
it just adds to confusion.
Yes, the income tax should spell out, the income tax laws should spell out that if you gain from crypto, whether the full income tax rate of 32% will be levied or you will have to pay a capital gains tax, whether your crypto holdings like other assets need to be disclosed in your assets, in your returns. So these rules are not there. Once these rules come, and the government should understand the importance of coming out with these rules before the sector becomes too big and there is a problem and then everybody starts blaming each other.
But probably if we give them the benefit of doubt, perhaps the policymakers in Mumbai as well as in New Delhi are distracted at the moment. I mean, COVID pandemic, how do you handle all this is taking all the mind space.
This is very low on the priority list now.
On the priority list, yes. But we are running really out of time. So just quick questions to Nischal. What next? What are the immediate next few steps? I mean, there are two aspects. One is there was a lot of venting online, which we saw, over the last few days. How do you pacify users? That's point number one. Point number two, what are you guys collectively, WazirX and some of your other peers, doing vis-a-vis the regulators or the banks? Have you sought meetings with RBI, with the banks, with the finance ministry, etc.?
Yeah, so for users, I think end of the day, it is about communicating and telling them what is the situation, which is also, one of the reasons why we are being very transparent. From the regulatory point of view and from the banking point of view, we don't see this as like a magic bullet solution where, we do this and it'll solve. So we're doing multiple things. First and foremost, like recently we just in association with India Tech, which is like a non-profit body which is sort of helping the whole startup industry in India. They've released 2 white papers, and which focuses on some key things that the government and the regulators can do to ensure that the crypto sector is well regulated and all the things are done in the right way. So that's something that has come out now. We are also talking to banks, and some of the things, like we hear confusion questions from them. So we're preparing notes and details and data for them. Like, to give you an example, I wouldn't want to name the bank, but one of the banks which was trying to see if they can work with the industry. They wanted a detailed statement of all the transactions that have happened, like a overview to understand what sort of transactions happen, the size of the transaction. So we did collect and summarize and provided them that, so that they have more visibility. There's also sort of a push and a pull between different sections of the bank, departments of the bank, where the business department seems to be, they openly tell me, please work with us. And then they're like, we have the compliance team where we have to explain this to them and we have to work with them. So there seems to be a push and a pull within the departments itself, which I see as a positive thing, because now we have one entry door. So we're trying to explore that as well. And and as part of IMAI, where we have a subcommittee called the BACC, Blockchain and Crypto Council. We have a self-regulatory code of conduct that we've applied on each of us, where we do KYC, email, customer protection. And now we're going to, the next phase is getting audited through a third party. So while we can self-regulate, we also want to make sure we also get audited. And this is so that we don't wait for regulations and blame that the government's not regulating us, so we don't do anything. But we are going to make sure we follow this code of conduct that we have and get ourselves audited to make sure that everyone in the industry who's part of it is following this.
Hopefully that will indeed pacify or soothe nerves. Sugata, the last word. to you. But let's be honest, there is also a fad element to all this, right? I mean, every time Elon Musk says something, a Dogecoin or Ethereum, they'll go up or go down. I don't want to be as harsh as, say, a Jamie Dimon, who in 2017 called Bitcoins a fraud worse than the tulip bulbs. But there is also this element of speculation, this, and which then also, fits into this whole narrative of the bank that, look, these guys are, gaming the system, so to speak.
Look, all asset classes go up or down. They can be talked up or talked down, and they react to sound bites. So I'm not worried about that. The other thing which I would don't quite agree with you, if it was a tulip mania, it wouldn't have lasted for close to, say, a decade. I mean, it wouldn't have lasted.
Correct.
I mean, no mania lasts for so long. I mean, so many sovereigns have tried to understand, ban, and then lifted the ban. Some of the liberal democracies, they have acknowledged cryptos. Okay, these liberal democracies are far more tolerant to technological innovations, but they have understood the importance of crypto, or they have acknowledged it as a new innovation. So you can't just wish it away as a tulip mania.
Correct. It is for real, and it is definitely here to stay. My take. One would have thought the Reserve Bank of India, which tried in 2018 to cut off the digital asset industry's links to local bank accounts, would now take a more pragmatic view towards innovation, considering cryptos have now got some sort of legitimacy from even our apex courts, with influential tech industry evangelists evoking the vision of 1 billion smartphones acting as gateways to the brave new world of decentralized finance. It's time to think out of the box instead of imposing impractical, impossible to enforce ban on cryptocurrencies. Millennials have already embraced tokens. So have their mothers and mossas. By all means, regulate. Take baby steps. That will be just fine, considering that the still modest size of the decentralized finance industry, which needs time to mature. As the Greensill Capital fiasco showed, even promising innovations in closely supervised conventional finance aren't without their big blow-ups. But think about this. Traditional banks are slow and expensive, while finance by large e-commerce or big tech firms could get just too dominant. At the very least, these cryptos or any other form of decentralized finance offers a third option. Nischal, Apoorva, Sugata, thank you very much for this fascinating chat. I'm sorry I've got to end here. We've completely run out of time, but I hope we can have you guys back very soon. Clearly, picture abhi bahut baki hai dost on this fast developing story. I'm Arijit Barman, and you've been listening to The Morning Brief. This episode was edited and coordinated by Shashwat Mohanty and Anjali Velugopalan. The clips are courtesy SNL, Coinswitch Kuber, India Today Group, and TV18. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. We look forward to your feedback. Write to us at themorningbrief@timesgroup.com. And if you like this episode, please share on your social media handles. We'll really appreciate it. The Morning Brief drops every Tuesday, Thursdays, and Friday. Thank you for listening in, and have a nice day. Eid Mubarak to everyone. Stay safe, get vaccinated, and wear your mask. Goodbye, and good luck.